Heya Cryptozens. Tonight's show. The Terra Luna Saga. Kwon's new plan and continuing developments. It's 10 p.m. Pacific time. The date is May 13th, Friday the 13th, 2022. Welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter. I'm your host, Nick. The cover model for this podcast is Tex, and together we take a nightly look at the crypto, NFT, and metaverse space and the industry that surrounds it. I'll take a minute. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast now, because we're here at 10 p.m. every night to bring you the crypto's news analysis that you need to start your day. And please keep in mind, nothing in this show should ever be considered financial advice. The wreckage from Luna's cratering and Terra USD's depegging continues. Now, we know Luna's having troubles, but the market speaks first. So let's look at the numbers. Luna's trading at statistically zero. It's not quite zero, but it's close enough that the difference really doesn't matter. Market cap is at just under 900 million, up from the 770 million last night. Fully diluted market cap, just over 987 million. Now you might be thinking, wait, that's almost $1 trillion market cap. Now, you might be thinking, wait, that's almost $1 billion market cap. Why is the coin so low if it still has that much value? Well, it's all about the supply. There are 6.5 trillion Luna tokens floating around out there. A bit more than a week ago, there was only 1 billion. But that's what happens. The Luna side of the stablecoin algorithm went wild, went on a minting spree, trying futilely to get the value of the UST back to peg. Not only did that not work, but it exacerbated the problem. And now there's almost $1 billion of value in there, still, not counting things like other projects that are still on the Terra blockchain. There's roughly $2 billion worth of UST locked on chain. Just going with the fully diluted market cap, that's $1 billion, roughly. 6 trillion is just way too many ways to slice that cake. The reason why I bring this up is any way forward, and there are people who do believe that Luna has a way forward. Any way forward for Luna will require dealing with a $6.5 trillion coin supply. So let's talk about Kwon and where his head's at. Because, there's been issues. And not just for him. Kwon's wife is asking for police protection. She wants the police to designate, quote, emergency special protection. And the reason why? Well, someone broke into their apartment building. Seoul police are reportedly investigating a break-in at Kwon's apartment building, which has to be scary, especially for her. Yeah, she's a new mother and he's a new father. Scary. According to the police report, they squeezed into a gap into the common area of the secured apartment building that they live in. This person apparently asked her if her husband was home, and then he fled. Now, Kwon has always been very loud, very boisterous on social media, aggressive, you could call it, but he's been quiet these last few days. Very quiet, considering today's the second time they stopped the blockchain. Well, he surfaced today. And he proposed a new plan. Notice I say he proposed one. I didn't say he came up with one. I didn't say he invented one. Frankly, it looks to me like he might possibly have stolen someone else's idea, but we'll talk about that in a bit. He said, quote, the Terra community must reconstitute the chain to preserve the community and the developer ecosystem. It was in the network's research forum that he posted something called Terra Ecosystem Revival Plan. So what he's talking about is rebuilding the Terra blockchain entirely and without the Terra USD stablecoin. He also took some time to do some damage control. Maybe it's the reports of the suicides directly attributable to what happened with Luna. Maybe it's the constant stories of people getting wiped out after trusting him with everything. Maybe it's what happened to his apartment building. So this proposal he puts out there is simple. It's a mulligan. Start over with a new blockchain. Network ownership would be in the form of 1 billion tokens, and these tokens would be distributed to UST and Luna holders. The way that this would work would be like this. 40% of those tokens would go to Luna holders who were holding before the DPEG. 40% would go to UST holders on a prorated basis. 10% would be distributed to people who were holding Luna just before the blockchain start. And the last 10% would go to a development pool. Now, he was asked, what would happen if UST ever got itself repegged? He said it probably wouldn't matter, given the mass liquidity events that we just watched. He just doesn't see there being enough trust to make it work again, and I agree. Kwon wrote, even if the UST peg were to eventually restore after the last marginal buyers and sellers have capitulated, the holders of Luna have been so severely liquidated and diluted that we will lack the ecosystem to build back up from the ashes. He continued, UST holders need to own a large share of the network. As the network's debt holders, they deserve to be compensated for the tokens they've been holding to the end. Now remember, this isn't the first plan that Kwon came up with. He had another one he shot out pretty early in the crisis. He wanted to expand the protocol's mining capacity. And I still don't understand that one. And apparently I wasn't the only one. The plan never got any buy-in from the community, even as they were watching Luna and UST burn. Let's take a look at the market. At the time of writing, the global crypto market cap is $1.28 trillion. Signs of improvement over the $1.22 trillion of yesterday. It's up 2.7% in 24. The top 5 cryptos by market cap are Bitcoin up 1.27%, Ethereum up 2.82%, Tether, USDC, and Binance Coin up 4.6%. So there was a time, not all that long ago, that Terra was the second biggest name in the DeFi space, just behind Ethereum's total value locked. And unsurprisingly, that has changed. Now it's in 6th place. They still have roughly $3.71 billion still in their DeFi protocols, which is a whole lot more than I would have in there right now. On the other hand, Luna is so diluted, it's hard to make any waves with that. Terra USD, certainly not a stablecoin, sitting at 13.5 cents. So the point is, Terra had serious weight in the DeFi space, and its current state has caused havoc in the DeFi sector. Right now, total value locked is down quite a bit. On April 3rd, that value was $230 billion locked. That has dropped to $139 billion today. That's 39.26% retraction. And some of that comes from a drop in value of the blockchain's native assets. That's what pushed Lido down to 3rd place after losing 19.42% TVL in 24 hours. Now, Lido supports a number of blockchains. One of those chains is Terra. Anchor had it much worse. 66.34% lost in 24 hours. Which isn't too surprising. Some people point at that drop in Anchor's staked value as one of the precipitating factors in the current crisis. The numbers, according to DeFi Llama, has the TVL dropping 10.58% in the last 24 hours. All of the DeFi protocols have experienced some level of loss, ranging from 1.61 to 19.42%. The TVL in cross-chain bridges fell as well, 20.3% this month. Right now, there's only 16.49 billion spread amongst the different cross-chain protocols. Frankly, that's a lot. I'm surprised that number is that high, given the number of cross-chain bridge hacks that we have seen in recent months. So the damage from the Luna UST catastrophe isn't limited to just the holders of those coins. All right, let's take an NFT break. The global NFT market cap is up over $10.63 billion. Sales volume is down 1.91% in 24 hours. According to CoinMarketCap, the top 5 NFT collections by sales volume are Azuki, followed by Bored Apes, Other Deed, Beans, and Doodles. And keep in mind, some of these collections have extremely volatile prices, so do your own research. So I've seen people asking where the influencers that were pushing Luna are. Well, we found one. Suzu is a co-founder of Three Arrows Capital, and like Kwon, he's been quiet for the last few days too, and people want to hear from him because he was an outspoken supporter of both Terra USD and Luna. So he fired up his Twitter account this morning and broke his silence. He said, quote, "This has been an incredibly humbling week, and it's difficult to find the right words." Unlike Kwon, Zeus showed contriteness, maybe some newfound humility, or maybe not so newfound, because he got himself in trouble a while back over some harsh things that he had to say about Ethereum. So maybe not newfound humility at all. At any rate, he did acknowledge that a whole host of things went sideways. Critics brought up that there were issues with the plans. Nobody listened. And now Zeus says the ecosystem should have moved more slowly, more safely. Everybody knows how this goes. Someone attacks your favorite blockchain project, and for a lot of people, the first response is, "That's FUD." And sometimes that person is indeed just spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Sometimes people make things up just to erode a little bit of confidence. But sometimes they're raising valid points and they need to be heard. His point is, if you don't have an actual refute to what they're saying, give them a degree of consideration rather than just dismissing them out of hand. Earlier this month, he was encouraging his Twitter following to take out loans. He suggested you take out loans on your Bitcoin, then take that money that you just borrowed and put it in the Anchor protocol. The idea being the 18 to 20% interest yield would more than make up for the cost of the loan, and you'd be way ahead. The fact is, anybody who did this, unless they sold, they would have lost pretty much their entire value in USD. That means even with an 18 to 20% yield, there was no way they would be able to pay back the loan, which means they lose their Bitcoin as well. Now that tweet has been taken down, but Zoo did call it. He said, quote, "This is Terra's DAO hack moment." Now I'm guessing he means that they've been presented with this huge troubling problem and not really given a good roadmap for how to get out of this mess. But there is another aspect where this fits. Because when the DAO hack happened, the dust settled and people were taking stock of the damage. And it was in that process that a rift appeared. One group of people wanted to back things up, make the hack like it had never happened. The other people, they weren't interested. Code is law, they said. The blockchain is immutable and must remain so. They were at an impasse. They couldn't agree. So they got divorced. They forked the project, and that is why we have Ethereum and Ethereum Classic today. So that is what some folks are suggesting now. Because about the time that Kwon put out his first draft of a rescue plan for UST and Luna, folks weren't having it. A number of them put forth ideas that were more focused on fixing Luna than trying to save Terra USD. Now the biggest one that came out, the one that got the most support, came from Terra Builder Alliance. They came out with their Luna Go Forward proposal. It said, quote, "Terra relaunches to honor existing UST holders, loyal Luna holders, and developers." So they suggested a new Luna to be minted and distributed. 40% of this would go to Luna stakers from a snapshot that was taken before the time of the depegging. 40% would go to Terra USD holders. 10% to marginal Luna holders, meaning hodlers but not stakers. And then the last 10% would go to developers. Sound familiar? It's very much like the plan that Kwon is putting out there today. But there's an alternative plan being floated out there. Some developers in the Terra community just want to restore the Terra ecosystem but with no Terraform labs involved. That would be a heck of a forking maneuver right there. Just take the whole system away from the people who built it. But maybe, if Luna is meant to survive this crisis, maybe that's what has to happen. And that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed tonight's show, then please like, comment, and subscribe. Give us a review. Do you have questions or comments? Reach out and let us know. The email address is nick@cryptoovernighter.com. That's nick@cryptoovernighter.com. And check out my other podcast, Crypto in 5 Minutes. We have 41 educational podcasts, 5 minutes to explain one concept in crypto. And as always, may peace